Chapter 1 of Bugbies. Charlotte Novak was listless, different from her usual nature after winter's chill surrendered to spring's warmth, which seemed to arrive earlier each year. As the temperature rose, Charlotte was typically eager to go on longer walks in their suburban neighborhood outside of Louisville. She would say, "I've been cooped up for so long, it's good to be outside without having to wear so many layers of clothes." Her husband Doug would reply that, with her coop language, she sounded as if she was a chicken. Charlotte would reply that this chicken needed to spread her wings and fly. And Doug would reply that chickens didn't fly very far. And Charlotte would reply that was okay with her. She'd change into another bird as her exercising endurance extended into the warmer months. However, Charlotte's eagerness over long walks was cut short this year. She said, "I've been feeling worn down the past couple days. I thought I might be coming down with a cold, but I don't know. It feels different than a cold. Maybe I've picked up allergies?" Doug looked away from the Floridian golf tournament on TV, and he said, "But you've never been allergic to pollen or other stuff, and you're not sneezing." "I don't think you have to sneeze with allergies." Charlotte plunked down on the sofa. "Can you develop allergies?" Doug said. "I guess it's possible." "But there isn't any pollen. It's too early." "Could be dust," Charlotte said and corrected herself. "No, it can't be. We don't have dust. Or not enough of it to be a problem." The married couple gazed around the living room, inspecting the condition of the coffee table, end tables, bookshelves. No visible layer of dust was on the surfaces. They paid Valerie to clean the house once a week, and she did a thorough job. "Maybe you're thinking about it too hard," Doug said, "and you just have a cold. Simple as that." "Yeah, could be." Doug hoped a cold was the culprit of his wife's listlessness, as it was minor compared to other reasons. As he and Charlotte climbed into their early 70s, the illnesses that seemed impossible in their younger years had shifted to the possible. Conversations with friends included more complaints of ailments, as well as updates about other people. "Did you hear that so-and-so has cancer?" While Charlotte led a healthier lifestyle than Doug, of course she got colds. She wasn't immune. She got after Doug for his leanings toward salty snacks and sedentariness. He tried to drink more water and eat more vegetables and joined Charlotte on some of her walks, but he wasn't as consistent as his wife. Her symptoms didn't improve during the day. After dinner of mushroom soup and baguette slices, Charlotte swallowed an antihistamine pill and went to bed early. Next morning, Doug figured Charlotte still felt under the weather when he left the bed and she was under the covers. He got after himself for grumbling about having to make coffee. "You've been spoiled," he said. Typically, the coffee was already made by Charlotte, who was more of an early riser than him. She hadn't gotten out of bed by 11 o'clock, after Doug had eaten breakfast and showered and skimmed the headlines on a news website. He went to the master bedroom to check on his wife. Maybe he should wake her up, even though it went against his belief that sleep was an effective healing tool. Perhaps she could use another antihistamine pill. Doug sat on the bed next to the mounted covers that defined Charlotte. He said, "Hey, hun," and gently shook her shoulder. No response. He repeated the comment and shook her less gently. Again, nothing. What if she's dead? The sudden thought was accompanied by a wave of fear inside Doug. He said her name and shook her shoulder with more energy. Still, she didn't respond. "She can't be dead," he thought. "She just had a cold. People don't die from colds." Two of his fingers rested on the side of her neck. When he felt a pulse, his spirits were lifted. Same when he saw her chest rise and fall. "Thank God," he said, and tried again to rouse her. "But people die from the flu," don't they? Doug rushed to the kitchen, grabbed his phone from the counter, called 911, stammered to the operator that his wife wasn't waking up. He didn't know what was going on. Maybe she had a stroke during the night and was somehow in a coma, but he didn't know that for sure. She was healthy, at least healthy for her age, and could allergies cause strokes? Take a deep breath, the operator said. Slow down. I'm going to need your address. 7608 Sandhill Road in Prospect. The address came easily from Doug's lips. He was grateful the house's address was an automatic reply for him. If he had to stop and think about it, he might have given the wrong house number or street name, or his mind could have found no answer. Such had been the reasoning behind Doug and Charlotte repeating the address to their son Oscar back when he was little. So if Oscar ever got lost, a horrible thought, but preparation soothed it somewhat, then he could have told his home address to a police officer. With the parental repeating, Oscar had learned the address well. Now, Oscar was an adult and lived in another state with his husband, Amir. Sirens sounded from far off, grew louder. Doug opened the front door to see an ambulance, light swiveling, parked before his house. 2 paramedics in dark blue shirts crossed the lawn. Doug led them up the stairs and into the bedroom. The paramedics went to Charlotte and checked her condition. To Doug, the event seemed to happen in stretched out time, as if his consciousness hovered to the side and watched the actions at a distance, and his body operated on autopilot. Also, he thought the paramedics looked too young to be doing their job. Shouldn't they be in a college classroom rather than checking on people's health? Did she have a fall recently? A paramedic with a brunette ponytail asked. Had she? A semblance of alertness returned to Doug, images of the past several days playing through his brain. Charlotte in the kitchen, living room, bedroom, grocery store, all ordinary. Finally, Doug said, No. Any other recent injuries? The paramedic said. Car accident? No, nothing like that. The paramedic tapped the answers on her tablet computer. Is she diabetic? No, More tapping on the computer screen. The paramedic asked, Is she on any medications? Doug thought for a moment, then said, Estrogen. No, wait, she stopped taking that. She takes vitamins and a pill for calcium. What about recreational drugs? What? Doug, baffled. I have to ask, the paramedic said. If she's overdosing, we have to know. She doesn't take drugs. Any chance she could have been taking them and you didn't know? The paramedic said. Has she been acting different lately? Bitterness in Doug at the idea of Charlotte secretly smoking or snorting or injecting something, as if she could have done any of those without her husband figuring out. He would have known, right? He wasn't sure. Not completely. Doug said, She's been the same. Mostly the same. She was feeling run down. She said that yesterday. Interest was clear on the paramedic's face. What were the symptoms? That's all she told me. Just not much energy. What about fever? The paramedic asked. Dizziness? Difficulty breathing? I don't think so. Doug wondered if Charlotte had felt other symptoms and hadn't shared the information with him. The paramedic tapped on her tablet before posing the next question. Does she have severe allergies? Doug shook his head. His voice needed a break. Does she have a history of seizures or going into anaphylactic shock? Doug shook his head again. Okay, that's it for the questions, the paramedic said. We'll take her to the hospital where they can run tests on her and see what's going on. Splendid. That was infinitely more favorable than standing in his bedroom with strangers and undergoing a medical interview about his wife. The floating consciousness sensation returned to Doug as the paramedics wheeled in a stretcher, lifted Charlotte onto it, secured red straps over her, like she was a violent criminal. But, as Doug told himself, the straps prevented her from falling, then carried her down the stairs and wheeled her to the ambulance. Doug agreed when the paramedics asked if he wanted to ride in the ambulance to the hospital. Got your house keys and wallet? The paramedic asked. Doug patted his pants pockets and felt only the phone, so his legs walked to the kitchen and his hands stuffed the keys and wallet into his pockets. The paramedic reminded Doug to shut the house's door. His legs carried him to the back of the ambulance and inside it. The burst of the ambulance's siren rattled Doug's brain and brought back his alertness. The ambulance's interior confused him with its foreignness. Charlotte on a stretcher, the paramedic watching Charlotte, glass doors of cabinets of medicines and bandages, a smell reminiscent of a doctor's office, a small connection to familiarity, while Doug and Charlotte were visitors to the ambulance's strange land. So that's it for Chapter 1 of Bugbies. Thanks for listening. And if you're interested in buying the novel, check the description below the video, and you'll see a link to the Amazon page where you can buy the book. Thanks a lot.